nuggets, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be giving you an updated tutorial on how to do a mannequin, because my last one was 7 months ago and I just wanted to do a new one so people can see that you gotta make one, you can't just find it anywhere, and it's not going to be different and how I did it in my last video because I haven't been practicing how to do it since then. So but the way I do it in this video is going to be different. Anyways, let's get into the tutorial. Okay, so first of all, we are going to be using the eraser to just lower down her head because it's really big. Because when your mannequin is done and you're making your wigs, you're going to have some type of big ass lumps, so you want to make sure that your wigs are really flat and it's laying flat on your mannequin as well. And obviously everyone's head is not going to be flat, so you're going to have to put your wig on other people just because they'll get confused, like why doesn't it fit my Avi and stuff like that. You're gonna make sure that their head is that their picture doesn't have a background, so it's easier for you to erase the rest of their head and the wig looks nice and flat on that person's head that you're putting a wig on. Just a tip on how you do that. So at the moment I'm just going to show you how I add a background on my pictures with ibispaint. So you create a new background, make sure you hide the layer of your avatar, because if you don't and you use the bucket tool and add a background, it's going to have a little white part to it that didn't get colored in. And then the next thing I do is I crop half of her body, just a shape of how I want my mannequin to look like. So it can be a V shape or a straight cut at the bottom like I did with my last mannequin. And this time when I'm doing the mannequin, I'm not trying to make her look really neat at the bottom. I'm trying to make it half messy kind of looking, but it's still neat. You can see what I'm doing anyway. I know majority of everyone watching it is gonna copy how I'm doing it. And also, if you could not get a picture without a background like I have, because I took mine on a PC, you had to erase your background and then carry on with the tutorial. So now I'm going to be using the dip and hard brush. This is the only brush I'm going to be using throughout the video, and then an airbrush. But I'm going to use that brush and I'm then eyedropping the color of my avatar. So it's the medium dark color, and then I'm going to start coloring in my avatar everywhere of it. So at this point I kind of got impatient because it was taking too long, and I started to use the airbrush to just color it in more quicker, and then I had to do the whole thing erasing out the outside of it. Someone did give me a tip how to avoid that, but I kind of forgot how that works. At the same time I haven't, it doesn't work for me all the time. I need to go back and read it and find the comment. But yeah, when I do know how to do that, I'm definitely going to keep saying it in my videos and showing it so people can avoid this mess, and my editing would be so much faster. Anyways, after that you're just going to lower the opacity and start erasing everywhere the mess is. Make sure it's neat. Okay, so when you're done, you're gonna put the opacity back on just to check that everything looks fine, and then you're gonna make a new layer and start doing the shading and stuff. So I like to start down on the chin before I go down to the rest of the body, and I lowered the opacity again so I could like properly see like where I'm actually shading. And we're going to be using the mode multiply and going back to the brush, the dip pen hard brush, and then I'm just going down under the chin like I said, and then I'm going to be using the blur tool to blur it out and blend it in. I'm not going to go back and forth with Gaussian blur because of the new update. It just makes it annoying to go back and forth with it, and using the blur tool is so much more better and less messy. And because it's less messy using the blur tool, I decided to go back and outline the rest of the body. And I'm not using up too much layers, everything is just on one. And yeah, this is not a long process, trust me. Now I'm going to be going in with the blur tool. Make sure that when you're using it, you leave out a little outline. You're not blurring out everything, then there is no shape to your mannequin, like at the places where you outlined and stuff. Like you would notice that when you're doing it yourself. So make sure you don't lose the detail of your mannequin whilst you do this. But it's okay to do it under the chin area right now because I went back and fixed that. But when it comes down to the neck and the boob and the arm area, like you don't want to lose detail on those areas because you're just gonna make it harder on yourself. Now the next thing that I'm doing is I'm going on that layer and putting the opacity back up, and then I am just going to go back onto my avatar layer, like the first one, because we're going to start cropping it a bit more. I don't like how it looks right now, so I'm just shaping it a bit more, and then I'm just going to go back and forth, so making sure it's like all neat, and I love the shape of it. So this is where you gotta have to like take 15 minutes out of your time to do this like really perfectly, and then we can move on to the next step, which is shading it a little bit more and then highlight, and then that's literally it. So it doesn't take that long. And when yours is like mine, then you're just going to go on that multiply layer, which is on the top of it, and just erase, and then go back on your avatar layer and erase the rest of it. Because after, when we're done shading and all that and highlighted it, we don't need that layer anymore, but for now we're just going to keep it because it's our base. Once you're happy the way it looks, you're going to go into the new layer that you're going to make at the moment right now, and we're going to just use the airbrush and start shading it in. Make sure it's a really big size, so like you're getting everywhere. So when you're done, it should look like this, and don't worry, it's going to be more blended out because we're going to use the blur tool after erasing out the outsides of it. So make sure to make this faster. Your eraser is a big enough size, and take all the outside messy bits out. And yeah, I'm just going to fast forward this so this video isn't too long and you basically get the memo. Now I'm going to be using the blur tool, so make sure that your brush blur tool is nice and big so you're getting everywhere and it looks really nice and blended. And also, when you've done this, you're still going to have to erase some areas out on the sides because you did kind of spread it out there, even though it might not look like it. Then after we're doing this, I am gonna go ahead and darken out the sides a little bit more and using the blur tool. So just basically the same method how we did the outlines, and then make sure you remember to erase. I am gonna show that part, so don't think I'm not just because I'm explaining it right now, because it does sound like I'm not going to, but yeah. Now at the moment I'm making a new layer to fix under the chin so it's more defined and more darker than the rest of the body. So now I'm going to go back using the dip pen hard brush and doing that the same way I did it before, just not fully blurring out the whole thing. So like I said, make sure there's an outline left when you use the blur tool. And then if it gets to the top bit of the chin, just use the eraser and erase it out and it looks fine. So now I'm erasing the part that I explained about before, and oh my god. And as you can see, it looks so much better and neater under the chin. And like I said before, don't forget to erase the outside areas. Now I'm making a new layer to darken out the shoulders area, just where it should look darker and more defined. And I'm just drawing and on those sides, and then using the blur tool. Make sure you neatly use it. And of course there's still going to be some that would get outside of the mannequin, so make sure you remember. I'm going to keep saying it because some people would forget, and then it comes out looking just a tad messy. And also, because your mannequin is not going to have a background, so whatever background you put on it, it's going to show afterwards, so it's just going to ruin your picture showing your beautiful wig that you made. So yeah, remember to erase your mess afterwards. So at the moment I've made a new layer because we're going to be making the top of the head darker just a tiny bit, and at the bottom, like at the side, just not everywhere around the mannequin's head, but yeah, just those places you're going to see me do right now. And we're just going to be blurring it the same way. I'm using a new layer because it's going to look too dark after we've blurred it out, and we can just easily use the opacity and put it down so it doesn't look too dark and her head, the top of her head, does not look burnt. And right now I am lowering the opacity, and you can just put it down to however you want, but putting it down to like 57 or 56 is the right amount for it. And now I'm gonna just go back and fix my mess. So at the moment, because I'm gonna go start highlighting, I'm just gonna put the layers together, all the multiply layers together, and then make a new one for the highlights. So try to eyedrop the lightest part of the mannequin so we can highlight. And when you start to highlight, make sure the brush size is a bit big. And by the way, we are still using the dip pen hard brush, like I said. Just that one and the airbrush is the only brush we've been using in this video, so that's what we're going to use to highlight right now, because the soft brush doesn't really show a really good highlight. It just makes it look soft because that's what the brush is. So yeah, make sure you're using the dip pen hard brush to do this highlight, and make sure the brush is really big, because right now obviously when you use the blur tool it didn't go everywhere. So yeah, just change the size and make sure your highlight is popping on your mannequin, because later on we're going to change the color of it to black and white, because it looks more better like that as a mannequin than leaving it this color, even though it's not that terrible. But yeah. So what I do here is, after I blurred it out, I use the smudging tool to spread it out a bit more, and it's quite hard to use it a little bit, but we're just using it to spread it out, and then put the rest out a little bit down the arm. And then I use the eraser to like erase out where it's spread it out on the darker areas, so you know the highlight doesn't look like it's overpowering everything. So that you gotta go back and erase some things out. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to start merging all the layers down. So start off with multiply, and then put it down, and then put down the add layer. So because if you do it the other way around, your highlight is going to just disappear and it's going to look really bad. So anyways, now the new layer is for the stand. But first of all, we're going to just delete that avatar layer, and we're going to go back on our mannequin layer, and we're just going to put the size down like I said in the beginning of the video. And when it's at the size you like it to be, then we're going to go back on the new layer that we made, and we're just going to create a stand. So this bit is so easy to do. We're going to go on the dip pen hard brush, still using that one, and then the color black or whatever color you want it to be, and start drawing your stand. So it's just going to be a long rectangle going all the way down, and then you're going to highlight it with a white color using the blur tool, and then you're literally done. And then I'm going to show you how to change the color of your mannequin to black and white, and then you are done. So make sure it's like in the center. If it's not, you can always just move it and get it into the center. And now you're going to make a new layer for the highlight of that stand right in the middle, just to make it pop and look more realistic. And to blur it out more, like I said, you're going to use the blur tool, and you're just going to have the size up, so it doesn't matter how big the blur tool size is, but make sure it's big enough to completely spread out that highlight color. And yeah, so your brush size should be like that. Now you already know what the next step is. It's the final last step, and you're going to go on filter and grayscale and just switch up how dark and the contrast of your black and white. So this is the final step of your mannequin, and it should look like this. Mine doesn't look that perfect, but it's a better improvement than my last one from 7 months ago. I hope that you didn't find this video too hard to do, and as always, if you've got any questions, you can always comment it down and tell me what I should do better in my next tutorial. And yeah, so give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and if you're new to my channel, subscribe, be part of my nugget gang, and turn off notifications, and I'll see you in my next video.